Out of interest, before we get on to your plans, what are the policies that you disagree with Jeremy Corbyn over?
Look, I'm on the left. I came into politics because of what happened in my family. My mum was a seamstress, my dad was a printer. They had their opportunities blocked because we didn't have a society that helped working class people get on.
But do you disagree with Jeremy Corbyn on policy?
Look, I was lucky. I had a comprehensive education, a good one, went on to Oxford and was able to join the Labour Party and try to deliver the same opportunities for social advancement, for good jobs to working class people. That is what motivates me in my politics and in my life. I don't want this to be an issue about individual policies. It's about effective leadership and whether we can return to government. We've all got Labour principles. Jeremy's got Labour principles. But to connect those principles, you have to be able to be elected and have Labour governments.
In justifying your decision, which we talked about before, don't want to dwell on that, to send your son to a private school, you said, quote, West Indian mums will go to the wall for their children. So black mothers love their kids more than white.
Andrew, we've just had, I think, one of the most important budgets in a generation. I've said everything I'm going to say about where I sent my son to school.
No, I'm not. That's what I want to. I don't understand this quote. No. Supposing Michael had said, white mums will go to the wall for their children.
Andrew, I've got nothing new to say.
Why would you say that West Indian mums will go to the wall for their children?
Andrew.
I mean, isn't that a racist remark?
Andrew, I've got nothing new to say. Let's talk about the most important budget in
No,
our
I'm
lifetime.
talking about...
When you made that first speech in July in the House of Commons about our Trident nuclear defence, did you know that misfire had occurred?
Well, I have absolute faith in our Trident missiles. When I made that speech in the House of Commons, what we were talking about was whether or not we should renew our Trident, whether or not we should have Trident missiles, an independent nuclear deterrent in the future.
Did you know that it happened?
I think we should defend our country. I think we should play our role in NATO with an independent nuclear deterrent. Jeremy Corbyn thinks differently. Jeremy Corbyn thinks we shouldn't defend our country.
This is a very serious incident. Did you know about it when you told the House of Commons?
And the issue that we were talking about in the House of Commons was a very serious issue. It was about whether or not we should renew Trident, whether we should look to the future and have a replacement Trident. That's what we were talking about in the House of Commons. That's what the House of Commons voted for. I believe in defending our country. Jeremy Corbyn voted against it. He doesn't want to defend our country with an independent nuclear deterrent.
Prime Minister, did you know?
There are tests that take place all the time regularly for our nuclear deterrents. What we were talking about in that debate that took place was about
I'm not going to get an answer to this.
If I may, Senator Sanders keeps bringing up the speeches that you gave to Goldman Sachs. So I'd like to ask you, you've said that you don't want to release the transcripts until everybody does it. But if there's nothing in those speeches that you think would change voters' minds, why not just release the transcripts and put this whole issue to bed? You know, first of all, there isn't an issue. When I was in public service, serving as the senator from New York, I did stand up to the banks. I did make it clear that their behavior would not be excused. I'm the only one on this stage who did not vote to deregulate swaps and derivatives as Senator Sanders did, which led to a lot of the problems that we had with Lehman Brothers. Now, if you're going to look at the problems that actually caused the Great Recession, you got to look at the whole picture. It was a giant insurance company, AIG. It was an investment bank, Lehman Brothers. It was mortgage companies like Countrywide. I'm not saying that Senator Sanders did something untoward when he voted to deregulate swaps and derivatives, but the fact is he did. And that contributed to the collapse of Lehman Brothers, which started the cascade in the Great Recession. Senator Sanders.
Boris Johnson, your proposed alternative, where do you get this idea you can develop Routemaster buses in a new incarnation for £8 million?
Nobody's ever proposed that. What I was saying was that if you wanted to have conductors for 337 bendy buses, which was the notional discussion I was having with Vanessa, as it happens, the other day, then it would cost about £8 million. If you wanted to have conductors...
You want a new fleet of
I do. If you want conductors for
Routemaster buses type.
the new generation Routemaster bus, which I do, and I think will be essential for London, I think will be much valued by Londoners, then you'd need to spend about 25 million quid.
25 million pounds for a fleet of how many buses?
No, for the buses, that's a different matter, and that's a different funding
How
proposition.
many?
Let me invite you.
Let me
invite you to speculate how much.
No. I invite
mayors...
you to speculate. In fact, more than speculate, tell us how much it would cost.
Let me tell you this: they would cost no more and no less than the mayor's own manifesto commitment to produce another 500 hybrid buses,
which
are going to ply the streets of London, and which will be bought, of course, as the mayor knows full well, not by Transport London, but they will be bought
Give us a figure.
By the bus.
Give us a figure.
And
Come
I think when you look at the prospect that this offers
what
London,
is the figure?
Well, the cost of a bendy bus is about £200,000. I envisage it being the cost over time being substantially amortised to be easily bearable under the Transport Budget Fund.
Sorry, am I not making myself clear? What we want to know is how much you propose to spend on this new fleet of Routemaster buses.
No more,
a figure,
no less.
A figure.
The cost of the mayor.
I despair.
500 new hybrid buses. And I invite the mayor now to tell us how much he's proposing to spend on a new 500 hybrid buses.
The new Routemaster
position. Can I just clarify, though, that because Alistair Darling, former Labour Chancellor, appeared with George Osborne as the outline of this post-Brexit budget was announced, do I take it from what you say that Mr Darling was not representing the Labour Party by being with Mr Osborne on that?
Look, the context of this is very clear, isn't it, Andrew? This is the same warning that the IFS and others brought in, that there would be a hole in our public finances. I asked you about Alistair Darling.
It would be nice just to get an answer. Yes, was he speaking just for himself, or did he in any way represent the Labour Party?
Look, he's talking in terms of how we would need to address, and the country would need to address, a hole in the public finances. But what we've been saying, and we've been very clear, is that we would not be voting for more cuts. So what we need to do, and the message that we want to give, is that if you want security and you want prosperity and you don't want to do self-inflicted damage to our economy...
you've said that. I'm trying to get an answer to my question. I'm not getting answers from Ed Vaizey, and I'm not getting answers from you. So please give some respect to our audience who are voting next Thursday, and let me ask you one more time. Was Alistair Darling just speaking for himself by being alongside Osborne, or did he represent the Labour Party?
We have said very clearly, Andrew, and I'll just say this again, that the context...
No, don't say it again, just answer the question.
No, but this is important. The context isn't new,
No, it's important that you answer the question.
The context isn't new, is it? That the IFS have said...
All right, well, you're not going to answer the question. I'm sorry, Stephen Malhotra.
The best way to avoid this is to vote for Remain.
You're not answering the question, so let's not waste our time with any more of this. I mean, is it going to go on like this? When is the referendum?
I was entitled to express my views. I was entitled to be consulted.
Did you threaten to overrule him?
I was not entitled to instruct Derek Lewis, and I did not instruct him. And
did you threaten to overrule him?
The truth of the matter is that Mr Marriott was not suspended.
Did you threaten to overrule him?
I did not overrule Derek Lewis.
Did you threaten to overrule him?
I took advice on what I could or could not do.
Did you threaten to overrule him, Mr Howard?
Scrupulously in accordance with that advice. I did not overrule Derek Lewis.
Did you threaten to overrule him?
Mr Marriott was not suspended.
Did you threaten to overrule him?
I have accounted for my decision to dismiss Derek Lewis.
Did you threaten to overrule him?
Detail before the House of Commons.
I note you're not answering the question whether you threatened to overrule him.
The important aspect of this, which it's very clear to bear in mind...
I'm sorry, I'm going to be frightfully rude, but...
Yes, you can...
I'm sorry. It's a quite straight yes or no
question, and I would give you an answer.
Did you threaten to overrule him?
I discussed this matter with Derek Lewis. I gave him the benefit of my opinion. I gave him the benefit of my opinion in strong language. But I did not instruct him because I was not entitled to instruct him. I was entitled to express my opinion, and that is what I did.
With respect, that is not answering the question of whether you threatened to overrule him.
It's dealing with the relevant point, which is what I was entitled to do and what I was not entitled to do. And I have dealt with this in detail before the House of Commons and before the Select Committee.
But with respect, you haven't answered the question of whether you threatened to overrule him.
Well, you see, The question is, what was I entitled to do and what was I not entitled to do? I was not entitled to instruct him, and I did not do that.